Well, if you like travel podcasts, which clearly you do if you're listening to today's show, you should check out our sponsors this month, Smart Travel. It's a new show from NerdWallet. It's all about making your money go further when you travel. Stuff like when it makes sense to actually book using points, how to avoid paying for bundle deals that aren't really deals, all the tricks that can kind of save you money when you're planning out your travel. We'll drop a link here in our show notes so you can give it a listen. You can also find it wherever you get your podcasts. So that's, again, Smart Travel from NerdWallet.
This is a Voyescape podcast. You can find all of our travel podcasts from around the world at voyescape.com.
Nagasaki is a medium-sized city on the southern island of Kyushu in Japan, and it is most famous, or perhaps infamous, for the atomic bomb that exploded there during the Second World War. But there's so much more to this city. It's an international port that for many centuries was the only opening from Japan to the outside world. Some people say it's a slice of Europe in Japan, as it was founded by the Portuguese and then developed by the Dutch. It is volcanic. It is tropical. There are beautiful beaches. Puccini famously set his opera Madame Butterfly here. And there is an operatic quality to this place, with a harbor surrounded by big mountains, palm trees, and islands. David, we're talking about Nagasaki this week. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm looking forward to getting back to Japan here on Travel in 10 this week. It's somewhere both me and you have spent a lot of time traveling around the country, and Japan is hot right now, right? It's been a huge destination for certainly for the past year, if not more now. Where I know the yen is not doing quite as well against the U.S. dollar, or the euro, or the Canadian dollar. So a lot of international travelers making their way there, and I think often when they're making their way there, it's on the main route. It's Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. Not as many people getting down to Nagasaki. This is a little bit less traveled alternative. So I'm looking forward to hearing your take on it, because it is. Although I spent a ton of time in Japan, not somewhere that I have been yet.
Yeah, no, I would agree wholeheartedly with you that if you've been considering Japan for a while and putting it off, now is the time to go to Japan because, as you've said, the yen versus the dollar, very advantageous. I mean, the first few times I went to Japan, I found it to be quite an expensive destination. Everything was expensive because of the exchange rate. Now, not so much. And you can actually travel reasonably economically if you stay in 2-3 star hotels, things like that. And Nagasaki, I think, really, you're absolutely right that it's not one of the obvious places. A lot of people on their first visit to the country, to Japan, they stick with Tokyo. They might go to Osaka or Hiroshima. I ended up there not by chance, but I had the first time I went, I had one of these Japanese rail passes where you have unlimited travel within a certain span of time. I think I had 2 weeks. And I would literally sometimes get on the train in the morning and just ride for a while and then say, okay, this place looks nice, and get off and spend a couple days there. Nagasaki, I think I did actually plan to go because I love history and I studied history, and so I knew about it from the World War II history. And I think it was one of the places that most surprised me for what it had beyond. I mean, the World War II history is very interesting, but the city itself is quite a beautiful place and really offers a lot beyond the World War II history. And so I was back just recently on a cruise, so it was just one day. But it was a pleasure to be back and see some corners of the city that I hadn't visited the first time. So very much looking forward to chatting about Nagasaki.
So was that did you do the JR Rail Pass? Is that how you were doing it when you were traveling around? Yeah.
Exactly. And for any of our listeners who are considering a trip to Japan, I would wholeheartedly recommend this pass. I'm not sure if this is still the case, but when I had it, it was a pass, and I've done it twice at least, that you could only purchase outside of Japan. You couldn't, and it is not for Japanese people. It is for visitors, and the goal is to have visitors come and see more of the country, and maybe to promote people getting outside of the big cities. And it is a very good deal. I mean, if you use it, especially if you use it every day, it'll be much cheaper than actually purchasing point to point tickets. There are certain trains you can't use, the most expensive trains, but you can ride the Shinkansen, the bullet train, and it is just a really wonderful and liberating way to see this amazing country.
Awesome way to travel. I traveled up and down Japan on the Shinkansen a number of times, and just such an easy way of traveling, right? And the rail system in every corner of Japan is so well developed that I think in 14 trips there, I've never driven. I mean, I've ridden in a taxi or an Uber, but I've never rented a car for sure,
Yeah.
and been able to see huge portions of the country without it. So yeah, a great way to get around the
Yeah,
country for
the
sure.
Japanese went really big on trains, right? After the Second World War, especially, where, North America really sunk a lot of money into interstate highways and cars, the Japanese went big on trains, and you can get almost anywhere in the country. I mean, even the tiniest little town, you can get there on a train. So, and as a train guy, yeah, really appreciate that fact. So, yeah.
Now, I know you said that there's a lot more, obviously, than the atomic bomb museum, but that is really an essential piece of understanding the city, and something that I had a chance to see the one down in Hiroshima, the Peace Park there. I imagine this is fairly similar, but I mean, what was your experience there at the Peace Park and the atomic bomb museum?
So I would definitely say when you first arrive, kind of do that first. Like, kind of not to get it out of the way, but you're gonna do it. It's an emotional experience, and it's definitely worthwhile. And I think it is essential to understanding the way that the city is now. So it'll stay with you as you continue to tour and see other parts of the city. There's a great museum there, that tells the stories, um, of I think the most affecting stories are the individual stories. So, they do have, a big map, that shows you, exactly where the bomb dropped and the timing of the bomb, dropping and all that kinda stuff. But I think for me, the stories, that I carried with me out of that museum were the individual stories. People who woke up that morning and they thought it was just another day, kids going to school, people going to work, and just the individual stories of how that bomb changed everything. There's recreations of the ruins, including a beautiful cathedral, perhaps built by the Portuguese, and that brings it to life as well. And that's inside the museum. And then you walk next door to the Peace Park, um, and it's bright, open, outdoor space. Lots of individual monuments, some sent by countries in commemoration of different anniversaries, some dedicated to different groups that were particularly decimated during the bombing. And then there is this beautiful statue at the end, of a man, and he's pointing at the sky, and he's in a yoga pose, but he's pointing at the sky, and the idea is that always be aware that death can fall from the sky, and it's very affecting. It's a very beautiful place, and just out there in the open air and nature, and in a city that is so peaceful and so dynamic and so interesting now. There is that, almost that cognitive dissonance between trying to imagine what it was like on that terrible day, and what it is now, and how far we've come. And no sense of, and I've been to Hiroshima as well, and I think in both places, no sense of blame, but just the feeling. Both, the theme is peace, and I think the idea is, let's just make sure it doesn't happen again, right? Let's make sure that an atomic bomb never again is used on a human, population. So that is definitely, that'll probably be a whole a whole morning, but really an interesting place to visit.
I mean, this is also a city that has a lot going on from a historical perspective. This was, my understanding is like long before World War II, during the period of time where Japan was really quite isolated from the rest of the world. This city was a bit of a gateway, right? It's where the Dutch, the Portuguese influence is very much seen in the architecture and the food and the religion in the city as well.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a couple sites specific to that that I would recommend. One is called the Dejima Island, and it was once a separated island. Now it has been connected with the mainland. And this was the Dutch port during the Edo period, during those 2 centuries when essentially Nagasaki was the only place open to the rest of the world. Um, and it's interesting to walk through because they have recreated essentially what was a city there. So the Dutch would come, these Dutch traders, and they would live there, and they would have connections with the Japanese in the city, and they would trade back and forth. I think mostly with this what's now modern day Jakarta. They called it Batavia at the time, and you can walk through and see what was it like to live there, what were the homes like, what were the warehouses like, what were and kind of squint your eyes and just imagine. I love to just imagine what it would have looked like in those days. So yeah, so very, very interesting spot to visit. And then another place that's connected with the European history is the Oro Cathedral, which very rare to see a historic church like this in Japan. One noteworthy thing is that the stained glass there was imported from France, and it is a very handsome building and definitely worth seeing when you are in Nagasaki.
You're telling me a bit too about another place that I'd never heard of before, Battleship Island. What can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved Battleship Island. I mean, again, there's a little bit of a difficult history there, but so it's an island off of Nagasaki. You can book a boat tour and go, and you will kind of sail around the island, and then you can do a walking tour on the island. And it was the site of undersea mines. And eventually, what they were mining ran out. Believe it was coal, and it became abandoned. And so you had what was a thriving community. I think up to 5,000 people worked and lived there. There's apartment buildings, there were bowling alleys, there were social clubs, there were bars and restaurants. And then, the coal dried up and everybody left. And now it's this like weird abandoned island. The name Battleship Island comes from the fact that it actually looks like a battleship. Just the the way that the island is shaped with the buildings and everything, it looks like it could be a battleship sailing through the sea. There is a little bit of history there. It has UNESCO World Heritage Site recognition. Korean slave labor was probably used, almost definitely used there. So there is that difficult history, but very interesting to visit. One footnote is that in the Bond film Skyfall, it was used as the Bond villain's lair. So, and like it's perfect for that, right? It looks slightly evil, abandoned, but at the same time, really an interesting history to experience. So I loved my day on Battleship Island. Thought it was fascinating.
And when it comes to that sort of Dutch influence, Portuguese influence, do you see that coming through beyond just the history? Do you see it a lot reflected in, like, I imagine it's really impacted things like the food and architecture, things like that as well.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you see, I believe it's called the Glover Mansion, which is one of the most visited sites in Nagasaki, and that was, I believe, built by the Dutch. And I know you had a Portuguese dish in terms of the cuisine. that you had heard was worth trying.
Castella, my understanding, Castella cakes are supposed to be kind of a specialty in Nagasaki, a Portuguese sort of sponge cake. And then you were talking about we were talking earlier about a noodle dish that they're really well known for as well.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm probably not great on the pronunciation here, but I believe it's called Champon, and it's the most typical Nagasaki dish, and it is a Chinese inspired dish. So we're talking about a soup with fried seafood or pork. And there's ramen noodles, and of course, ramen is very common in Japan, but it's a different type of ramen noodle that's made just for this dish. And I did not try it at this place, but I heard that Ito Bishi, which is right near Dejima, is definitely the best place to try it. And there's just a couple of other really good, with any port city, especially in Japan, you're going to get really great sushi, sashimi. You're going to get fresh seafood. So any of the restaurants on Dejima Wharf are going to get you that beautiful taste of the sea. And right near Dejima Island, there's a great little pocket of Japanese style tapas places. This wonderful tradition in Japan where you can just pull up a chair at the counter, um, sit tight shoulder to shoulder with the people next to you. If they speak English, you can have a nice chat, and they bring the food out, and it's like a little tapas dishes. So there's a great little pocket of those right near Dejima. So I would recommend that as well. But yeah, Nagasaki.
Beyond food, when it comes to places to stay, any places that jumped to mind that were kind of great spots when you were passing through?
Yeah, so I mean, there are lots of big 4 and 5 star hotels. Nagasaki is a reasonably large city, so you're going to find your Hilton, you're going to find your Marriott, you're going to find other hotels like that, which are always great. Two that I would call out that are not, in the chains are Hotel Monterey, Nagasaki, which is a Portuguese style hotel. So it calls back to that Portuguese history. There's Portuguese antiques. There's those colorful tiles that anyone who's been to Portugal will be familiar with. So that's part of the ornamentation that they have within the hotel. And then one other one I wanted to mention was Cetra Glover's house, which is next to Glover Garden, it's a historic building. It's a small hotel, boutique hotel, and it is set up on the hill near the Glover House with these beautiful views, nice breezes. It can be quite hot and humid in Nagasaki, so beautiful breezes and lots of charm. The tram is 5 minutes away, and my favorite part, free snacks. So they have free snacks that you can enjoy and free drinks. I'm not sure what the limits are on those, but that definitely is a nice little added feature and something that is a little bit different from the big chains.
And what was that one called, Tim? That last one?
It's called Cetra, so it's spelled Setre, Glover's House.
Okay. And I'm noticing here, just looking at another really cool looking one on Glover Street, brand new hotel called Hotel Indigo, Nagasaki, that looks like it's very much that sort of Portuguese influence on the architecture there. Quite cool. The other thing I always loved when I was traveling through Japan were the ryokans and the onsen hotels as well.
Yes.
I'm just reading about one here called Obama Onsen. That sounds interesting. About an hour outside of Nagasaki. Looks like a very cool oceanfront, outdoor baths and ryokan Yamotoya there, which looks very cool as well.
Yeah, I stayed at an onsen resort in Kagoshima, which is right at the end of the line on the Shinkansen and not too far from Nagasaki. And that was an amazing experience. I mean, I had a room that actually had the hot spring water piped in onto the balcony of my room, so I could have my own private hot spring there, and very traditional food and drink. I actually had chicken sashimi, which is a specialty in Kagoshima, raw chicken. And so maybe we'll have to do a whole episode on Kagoshima and onsen culture, and that's another very fascinating thing that you can encounter in Japan for sure, and in Nagasaki.
Yeah, something that if you're going to Japan, you absolutely have to stay in at least one ryokan, and even if you're staying in a lot of the Western hotels have kind of Japanese ryokan style rooms usually as well that you can find as well with the tatami mat floors, and sometimes even in the big chain hotels they'll have like a sort of an onsen type experience within them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you get a real sense of, and a lot of hotels you can have a Western style room, which will be, your two double beds and a whatever a desk, and then you can also stay in a Japanese style room, which is like as you said, the tatami mats and so I definitely recommend. I'm not a man who's very good at sitting on the floor and things like that, but it is worth spending at least one night in a Japanese style room. So
Okay, any can't misses or final tips that you would give us for a trip to Nagasaki?
So I would just say, at the end of the day, take the cable car up to the top of Mount Inasa. It is a beautiful view from the top of the mountain. The city will be kind of at your feet. So you can see the harbor and the sparkling lights all around the harbor. And it's just a wonderful way to end what's probably been quite a busy day in Nagasaki. So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Tim. As always, always great to get your recommendations on some new and undiscovered places around the world. I know you're off to the wilds of Alaska here shortly, and looking forward to hearing about that soon too.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to chat with you, David, and safe travels, and looking forward to reconnecting on new and exciting destinations down the road.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, David.
A quick shout out to our sponsor this week, Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet that's packed with tips to help you travel better and spend less. They've got episodes on things like which travel cards are actually worth it, how to book peak season trips without paying peak season prices, and how to spot flight deals that are actually deals. It's smart, it's super practical, definitely worth a listen. Travel smarter and spend less with help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts.
Can you travel in a way that's better for people and the planet? On Curious Tourism, the Responsible Travel podcast, we explore how tourism shapes our world, for better or worse. From over-tourism and sex tourism to last chance travel, join me, Erin Hines, and my producer, Katie Lohr.
That's me.
To explore the ways in which we can all travel better and build a positive tourism future. Subscribe to Curious Tourism wherever you get your podcasts.